I've spent the past year making 3 unique classless skill trees to turn D&D into a fully classless experience. My name is Gabriel Galway and this is the Ugly Goblin, and today we are going to take everything I have ever learned, everything I have ever built, and together we're going to design our very first classless character. We're going to learn how to utilize the classless skill trees and how to navigate the accompanying classless character sheets. So this skill tree system clearly takes huge inspiration from the likes of Skyrim and other games that allow you to play classless characters. And there's also a lot of inspiration and love for Final Fantasy X in here with the sphere grid that allows you to navigate and level up and choose different nodes and abilities. That is a huge inspiration as well for this skill tree. I love having the freedom to choose and design whatever character I like. And after running this for quite a while now, I don't know if I'm gonna go back to playing normal D&D. It's just so good, so fresh, and you just have so much control over who you play. And once this system has finished incubating within the confines of 5th edition, I do plan to eventually release this as its own TTRPG system, which I'm really excited about. I'm actually working on it right now as we speak, and if you want to take part in that journey, do hop over to any of my live streams that I'm running as well on the channel. But for now, open up the links that are in the description below so you can follow along with these skill trees and also the character sheets themselves. And if you're enjoying what you see here, if you enjoy this video and want to see more, consider giving me a like and subscribe, and we'll hop right in. And if you want to break down on each of these 3 skill trees, check out any of these videos right here. I'll also link those in the description below. But we're not going to go into too much detail on what each of these nodes do individually. Instead, we're going to look at where the heck to start on this skill tree. Which one do we start with? How do we begin a character? We're going to look at all that today. So we'll navigate to our document down over here and we're going to have a look. This is the skill tree. It's beautiful. And we're going to go through each of the steps on how to build a character today. So starting off, we've got our first step here, which is ability scores and race or species. So here, very clearly, you're going to choose a species and also assign your ability scores. Very easy. So for this example build, I'm actually going to go build Link from Zelda, in particular Link from Breath of the Wild. So for our species, we're going to go for Wood Elf. And we're going to assign our stats like so. Strength is going to be 14, dexterity is going to be 15, constitution is going to be 14, intelligence is going to be 8, and wisdom is going to be 12, since we want him to be able to understand a lot of the obscure riddles and messages that Zelda leaves behind. And then finally, charisma is going to be 8, because all we can really say is yeah. So we're going to stick with 8 for charisma. We're going to pop our bonuses then into dexterity and strength, bringing them both up to 16. And I think then we are good to move on to our next step. So if we move over here, we can see our next step is making a starter pack. So this essentially replaces backgrounds. This is where you'll be choosing your starting equipment and starting proficiency. So this is kind of the backbone of your class's character. So there is a lovely little list down here, which we're going to pick 4 things from. That's 3. We're going to pick 4 things from it. And you can only pick 4. And you can pick multiples of the same thing, but certain things, like over here, you can see skill proficiency is maxed out at 2 purchases. So you can only buy that twice. But also keep in mind that gold is very important here, because you use gold to buy your starting equipment from the character's the player's handbook. So if you take up no gold, you're going to have no starting equipment, and you're going to be kind of like the deprived class in Dark Souls, which might be a vibe. So we're going to take a big fat stack of 50 gold. So we have some starting equipment. We get our tunics, our shield, our sword, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the athletic skill so we can climb walls. And also we're going to take survival just so we can make our way around. This guy's really good at surviving in the wild. And then lastly, we're actually going to take a proficiency over here in cooking supplies. So now once that is done, we're going to go on to step number 3, which is build a base. this. So in this step, we are going to build the foundations for our classless hero. So firstly, we're going to find out what our saving throws are going to be. We're going to choose 2, but they're from 2 separate lists. So we have all the more common saving throw types in one of the lists, and then the uncommon saving throw types in the other. So from this list, we have to either pick strength, intelligence, or charisma for our first saving throw. And then for our second saving throw, it's either going to be constitution, dexterity, or wisdom. So mixing up both the popular and unpopular options, we are going to pick strength and dexterity as our starting saving throws. And so next, within this build a base step, we are going to get 8 base points. You can see that right here. And we are going to spend them in this lovely table. We've got a list of different things. These are abilities, proficiencies, etc. And you can see over on this pink side, on the left side here, we've got the different things we can purchase and how many base points each of those costs. But keep in mind as well, if you take on the heavy armor proficiency, you'll get all the other armor proficiencies below that one. So there's no need to double dip or anything. Also know as well, if you just go full on with the cantrips and skills, you can always purchase the dagger proficiency at the very bottom and proficiency in one simple weapon, but you can only buy that one time. But wizards out there who don't have any interest in armor and martial weapons, this is an option for you. It's completely free. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to purchase the heavy armor proficiencies, thus gaining proficiency in every other armor below that. We're also going to take up shield proficiencies and martial weapon proficiencies, which is bringing our budget to 6 base points with 2 left over. And we're going to spend those last 2 in some other skill checks, I think perception and stealth. So that was super easy. We now have our starter pack. We have the base for our character. So now we can get into the really fun part, which is using the actual skill trees themselves. So we can see here, as we first go into the skill tree, right over here, every character starts with 5 hit points plus their constitution modifier. That also includes negative constitution modifiers here. So if it's in the negatives, it's going to go down. But what's really important to know is that you don't automatically get HP every time you level up. Instead, you're actually going to have to go in to the skill tree and purchase from the health node if you want to gain any more HP. But you're limited to a number of purchases of the health node equal to your proficiency modifier per level up. So there is a limit. You can't just go and get a bazillion health. There are limits to this. So moving on then, we're going to get into hit dice and stuff at the end of this video, so stick around for that. So we're going to go now though onto how to navigate the skill tree itself, different terms and stuff that you might want to be familiar with. Number one, the main thing is that on this skill tree, you've got a bunch of different, colored shapes in here, and these are all called nodes. And these hold different abilities and powers for your character. And then each of these lines connecting to each shape or node, they're called branches. So super simple, very like a tree. You can consider the nodes almost being like fruit. And also on my Patreon, I have a Devil Fruit One Piece skill tree if you're interested. I make tons of these. So if you like this kind of stuff, do subscribe, give this video a like if you want to see more. So when you level up and when you first make your character, you're going to get a bunch of things called level points. And you can spend level points in each of these nodes to purchase different powers and abilities. So whenever you purchase any ability from a node, that node becomes unlocked. And you can purchase from any nodes that are connecting back to a node you've purchased from or unlocked, or you can also purchase again from nodes that are unlocked, if that makes sense. So in a nutshell, if you've purchased an ability from a node, you can continue to do so long as it meets the requirements of that node, if it lets you do that. But you can also purchase from any nodes that are adjacent to that node that you've purchased from, so long as there is a branch connecting back to it. Now, the cost of each node is all going to be in the actual description of that node, which can all be found in the document. So if we scroll down here, let's go to the rage node, for example. You can see it costs 1 level point or 1 battle point, which is a more specific type of node. We'll get to that later. So also keep in mind that purchasing from the same node multiple times will grant you additional benefits. So one example of that is the sneak attack node over here. You can see it costs 1 LP, 1 level point, and for each purchase that you make, for every level point you spend in this, you will gain 1 additional D4 sneak attack damage that you can add to your attacks. And so we begin our classless journey right here in the center node, the colorless ability node. And for this example, we're going to start in the classless combat skill tree, but there are two others that you can level up in this classless journey. There is a roleplay skill tree and a crafting skill tree. And on the beginning of our classless journey as a level 1 character, we will get 5 battle points being a type of level point, and we can spend these on the combat skill tree. We also get 3 role points for the roleplay skill tree and 1 artisan point for the crafting skill tree. I will say though, if you're planning to run this for maybe newer players and things, I would advise maybe leaving the crafting skill tree off at least for the beginning until maybe they get used to the system, because there's a whole bunch of new rules in there that can be overwhelming even for veteran players. So that's maybe something you want to consider adding in later in the game, maybe when they find some sort of crafting mentor figures and things like that, and when they want to get into the crafting system. The whole thing can play completely though without any of these systems. It can play without the roleplay system, it can play without the combat system if that's what you want to do, if you want to do a non-combat game. And I'll get into how to play different types of games using this series of skill trees in just a bit. But for building our Link, in this case, we're going to be using the classic vanilla heroic fantasy that is very similar to D&D, where we're going to be playing a very powerful heroic character. So we're going to use a ratio of 5, 3, and 1. 5 battle points, 3 role points, and 1 artisan point. And you'll gain that same amount of level points collectively each time you level up. But like I mentioned, the beauty of this system is you can mess and play around with that ratio however you like. Like a few examples would be, if you want to go for a more gritty realism, you could go with just giving your players 4 level points in total that they have to choose and assign across the 3 skill trees as a whole. So they have a very limited amount of level points in total, so they have to be very clever with how they use them. Or for anyone looking to recreate the experiences from like other crafting games like Stardew Valley or Minecraft or Moonlighter even, you could go with a reverse ratio, 1 combat point or battle point, 3 roleplay points, and then 5 crafting points. Or if you want just a very political heavy game, you could go with a 1-5-1 ratio, with roleplay obviously being front and center in this kind of game. This is also great for replicating the likes of like Call of Cthulhu or other like horror based or investigation heavy games. But for our collection of level points for Link, let's see what we're going to spend them on. I think I want to make Link quite tanky, so we're going to purchase the health node twice. So we're going to change his health accordingly. Obviously, like I mentioned, we are limited with just 2 purchases per level. That will go up as our proficiency goes up. But for now, we'll take the 2 purchases. Again, when he levels up again, he'll get 2 more uses of the health node if he wishes to purchase from it again. We're also going to give him a combat focus here, taking the defender ability. And we'll also purchase from the weapon mastery node as well, getting the vanilla hero weapon mastery, which is actually inspired by Link himself. So this is all about giving you, it gives you a +1 on attack rolls and damage rolls if you're using a sword. And then later on at 5th level, you can spend some stamina to increase the range of your sword attacks by about 10 feet. And then since we have a nice easy window from the weapon mastery over to sneak attack, we're going to spend our last point on sneak attack. So we can flavor this as him hitting those critical points on monsters. And that's it. It's that easy. We have our level 1 character, at least for the combat skill tree. So now let's go and scooch on over to the roleplay skill tree, which is right here. And you notice this is a much more compact looking skill tree. So I think we're going to spend our first level point, our first role point out of 3 on the ability Artful Guile, because surprise, there's actually a wonderful amount of synergy between not just like each individual skill tree and all the nodes within that, but also across each separate skill tree. So the roleplay skill tree can also pair really nicely with certain abilities in the combat skill tree. One being Artful Guile in this case, which allows us to spend our sneak attack dice on certain skill checks, like stealth, for example. And also, just if you want a deeper dive in any of these nodes and their specifics, what they all do, go check out any of these videos here on the screen, because I do go into more detail in each of those about what each of these nodes do. But then, actually, very conveniently, after purchasing the Artful Guile node, that gives us direct access to the Gather ability, which allows us to find nicer stuff in the wild whenever we go foraging and stuff. There's a whole bunch of foraging mechanics in this and survival mechanics in this for mining, foraging plants and things, and also for going on hunts. So Link is notoriously great at that, specifically in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So what we're going to do, actually, interestingly enough, we've spent 2 points. But now the mine node, the forage node, and the hunt node all cost 2 role points. So we're actually going to not spend any more of our role points here, and we're going to reserve that 1 role point. We're going to write it down that we have an unspent role point. And next time we level up, that'll immediately allow us to buy both the forage and the hunt node straight away. But that's it. We've got the roleplay skill tree checked out. We've got the combat skill tree checked out. In terms of then the crafting skill tree, we're just going to put 1 point in cooking so we can cook up some really nice meals for our party. And that's us good to go. So there's just a few last things and that we've got to round off here. And that we're going to go back to the combat skill tree for that. And we're going to go into hit dice and how they work. And more importantly, what hit dice size our character gets. Now, this is a fun little feature of this skill tree, is the fact that your hit dice can fluctuate based on which branches in the skill tree you start to specialize in. So you'll also have noticed that our skill tree up here, we'll go back up to it, is categorized into different shapes and colors. So we've got the circular red nodes. These are known as the physical nodes. The blue 5-shaped nodes are called mythical nodes. And then over here, the green kind of rounded square nodes are called technical nodes. So on your character sheet, you actually want to take note of how many battle points you are spending in each of these nodes. If you have more BP or battle points spent in the red nodes, in the physical nodes, then your hit dice are going to be a D10. If you have more points spent in the technical nodes, they're going to be a D8. And if you're a lovely spellcaster who has prioritized the mythical nodes, then you're only going to have a D6. But you'll also see that in between each of these branches are what I call dual nodes. And so these dual nodes are, we've got the pink 6-sided ones over here. We've got the kind of more jagged 8-sided teal ones. And then we've got the yellow kind of other 6-sided ones just tilted at a 90-degree angle. These are all dual nodes. So the dual nodes are basically a combination of the core branches to the left and right of them, or to either side of them. So the pink nodes are a fusion of physical nodes and mythical nodes, and so on. So whenever you spend a battle point in a dual node, so let's say we spent it in one of the pink nodes right here, you actually mark down that you've technically spent a battle point in both the physical branch and the mythical branch. And so then once you add up and figure out, which branch you have spent the most battle points in, if there's ever a draw, you choose the lowest hit dice. So for example, in Link's case, he's actually spent an equal amount of battle points in both the physical branch and the technical branch, even though he had 5 battle points, because he spent 1 in the combat focus right over here. That's actually been split and put 1 into physical and 1 into technical. So in the end, we are going to go with the lowest hit dice, which is a D8, and he has 1 D8 because he is level 1. So that part doesn't change. The amount of hit dice you have is equal to your level. But let's say he levels up again and he puts all 5 into mythical. Now all of a sudden he's going to have 2 D6s for his hit dice. The entire dice changes just to keep it easier and simpler for you people. So you're not getting, 1 D10 here, 1 D8 here. It's all based around where you are distributing your battle points overall. Another thing just to mention as well for you DMs out there, the characters built with these skill trees are going to be a little stronger just because players can specialize that bit more. So if ever you're building combat encounters around this, you should be fine. But if you find that your players are steamrolling a lot of your encounters, maybe up the CR a bit, consider the CR of a monster is designed for maybe a party of 2 rather than a party of 4. So for example, a CR2 monster would be a fitting challenge for a party of 4 level 1 characters instead of, you know, a party of 4 level 2 characters. But in the end of the day, this isn't an encounter building video. Just go with, you know, what's more fun. I've done videos on this as well if you want to check them out as well. I hope in the end of the day, you just go with what's more fun, what's more interesting, and what just makes sense for the narrative. But I hope this video has given you a nice sense of the basics, how they work, and how to finally build your very first Classless character. Let me know in the comments who you would build, what kind of characters you would build with this. If this is for you, if it's not for you, let me know. I'd love to hear what you've got to say. And if you found this useful, if you like what I've built here, consider subscribing, like this video, and thank you so much for watching. And also a very special thanks goes out to all of my beautiful patrons out there. Thank you so much for supporting me and what I do, making this possible. Thank you to my hero goblins as well that are mentioned over there. This is a wonderful new category I've invented for Patreon, which allows you to get a custom goblin made for our credits. But yeah, thank you all so much for supporting me. Genuinely, you allow me to do what I do, and I cannot thank you enough for that. I will be forever grateful to all of you. Thank you as well for everyone who's been watching. Share this video around, share with your DMs if you're interested in this. Players, share with your DMs, share with your players, and I'll see you around for more Classless Skill Tree content in the future. Goodbye.